I just would like to say thank you for your patience while I got through this nightmare. And I will see you in about 4.5 minutes. Thank you again. Lord. Okie doke. Hopefully this works. There we go. All right. I think we're okay. What a nightmare this one's been. So it's still running kind of weird. I hope it's all right. Anyways, I guess we'll see what happens, right? So, welcome back to Forever Conscious Research Channel. I hope you find yourselves all having a good day. And if you celebrated the holidays, I hope you had a enjoyable time. And does it sound all right, guys? Because it looks really funky on my end. Hope it's all right. Just let me check here. Thanks for the feedback. All right, so sorry about that. Let me just do the introduction for the replay people, replay viewers. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Forever Conscious Research Channel. Hope you're doing well today, and if you celebrated the holidays, you had an enjoyable one. Tonight's video will be on near-death experiences. We're specifically going to be going into the return to the body deception. So, with that, we're going to see some examples, and it's a specific one on consent, as well as a lot of just messing around, people giving away their sovereignty and just going along with the show, not questioning things. And, you know, even the example I give you with consent, I mean, if you really want to look at it, you can say, oh, well, hey, even though she brought up consent, she's in this scenario where she's being deceived. But, the way I see it is there are tons of examples on how consent and intention play a massive role in all of this. If I, for 1 minute, felt that consent and someone's intention wasn't the keys to the kingdom, I don't even know if I'd be doing these videos. Okay. I have spent a number of years looking at this, and nothing concerned me more than when I was looking at NDEs where we hear people saying they were forced to come back. Okay. That type of thing really did not sit well with me. And kind of my main reason why I didn't even go to as deep as I did on this topic until, the end of last year. Even though I discussed it as far back as, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, maybe. What I'm trying to say is we see the consent factor. We see it. Now, why I want to address this is because in the last video with Wayne, he had brought up a letter that was written to him from someone that I personally dealt with, who I spent a lot of time with, and who was frankly very rude and obnoxious. And that's not to put aside the contents of the letter. It has to be said because of who I was talking to. Okay. I was very generous with my time talking. I'm not like I'm some big shot or anything, and I'm not all about ego, but the point is I talked to him because he's going through a lot of dark stuff, and a lot of people are in this time. I understand that. I respect that. And I empathize greatly with that. But, I don't know how long he's been looking into this. He never told me he wouldn't talk to me on voice mic or anything like voice chat, and after multiple times I even said, oh, maybe we can get a microphone over to you. Point is he seems to have a problem with the consent thing. Fair enough. Okay. Like I said, I had a big issue with the people who say they were, quote, forced to come back. Okay, that's a big issue. But if you start looking at it's, you can't just pick one thing. You have to look at the overall picture. There's a big thing. There's a big point to be made in the person's life too. Okay, the person's background that they share with you. How embedded in the system are they? Okay, how free do they come off? Now, mind you, when we're talking about NDEs, I think they're all dealing with deception. But when we're talking about things like DMT, ayahuasca, pre-birth memories, yeah, there's deception there. But the point is we see it live and in action when people are outside their body in DMT, ayahuasca, and various other breakthrough trip reports, even mushrooms, talking about big doses, where they are in an uncomfortable situation or perhaps even a boring situation that is not, they want out. Okay. And all they do is think about it and boom, the scenery changes. They set their intention, I don't like this scenario. I want to get out of it. Okay. Now they don't necessarily know the true powers that they have, but the point is they feel it so deep inside with them that everything changes on a dime. And there are tons of those. You can go dig through them and find them yourself. I've shown countless examples of consent and how it works on this channel. I show how I bring this. One of the best examples I put out was the near-death experience from Tony. Okay, Tony had he got struck by lightning. He ended up becoming a concert pianist. Wild near-death experience. You can look back. I don't know. I did that 3-4 months ago. Anyways, you see a moment right after he gets struck by lightning, left his body. He feels he's pure existence, blah, blah, blah. He's just chilling, doing his thing. Then all of a sudden, he's moving along and sees a blue orb and is attracted to it. So there's a moment when Tony gets struck by lightning. He's doing his own things. I think he even said he didn't have like a care in the world, no worries, nothing. And then all of a sudden, he sees that blue ball of light, which we can equate to something similar like the white light, okay? And he goes towards it. He chooses to go towards it. And then everything changes. The whole situation changes. Why is that? Because Tony was at pure existence state, his pure spirit essence, we can say. And then all of a sudden, he got attracted by that blue light, and then the whole thing just went nuts, okay? He went through a whole situation, ended up coming out of it a concert pianist, just wild stuff, okay? And then there's what do you call it? Past life regressions, okay? Where we hear time and time again consent. And then we even hear in NDEs where people will admit openly that, I consented to come back. I consented to do this, okay? But it's important that we identify and see the examples where us as true creator beings have the power to call the shots. Now, I will say that the most important moment that we have is at the time of death. That is the time to assert yourself. I seriously cannot sit here and say that if you fall into the light, down in the life review, or even if you're way past all that and into the soul school and all that stuff, I don't think it's easy to get out. Now, can you? Yeah. But your memory's most likely been wiped, which leads me to the other thing. I see memory wipes in near-death experiences. It's insane. First off, we have admissions of it, okay? Admissions, okay? And I will bring examples for that down the road. But there are clear-cut examples where we see that, okay? So they are applying the memory wipe. So that puts into question almost every near-death experience, okay? The fact that people are not questioning anything as it pertains to the insanity of this realm, even just we've talked about before, like the satanic agenda and narratives and all the craziness that goes on here. Nothing about the power structure. Nothing is really ever brought up. They might say, "Oh, well, my life was really difficult. I don't know why I did this," or things like that. But the point is that there just is not. There's just a blind acceptance because they have the goggles on of the love bomb. They have the goggles on of, assuming what they're dealing with is something like God, something like Jesus, Muhammad, etc. Okay? They're pets. All right? They're under an illusion. They've already gone through the process to continue to engage with these entities, and they just agree. They just blindly consent. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that was all on the table right there. I felt I could have addressed it better for the audience. I was probably more or less overreacting to the author because of the situations that I was involved with him, and frankly, his treatment. Okay, and again, I just tried to be cool and talk to him, and it was a few months, and finally, it just had enough. Okay, and then after that, that's when the paper was sent to Wayne, and that's fine. That's fine. But I feel I addressed that situation here head on. So, I wanted to make sure that the audience, everyone listening, has an understanding of that, because you guys did not deserve the response I gave, and I apologize for that. So I just want to, again, just apologize, and I'm sorry. So if anyone's looking for further information, you can go to Wayne's website and check the show notes from episode 4 that we did, and you can find all the information there if you're looking for information on the discussion that we had on the paper. So that's trickedbythelight.com, and just look for episode 4, and then there should be his notes there. So I guess the last thing I'll say on this specifically is again, you all have the power. Okay, if someone, there's nothing wrong with questioning everything. That's what it's all about. Right? It's all about questioning everything. All right. That's what this crazy ass reality has come to. You have to question every damn thing. All right. But don't give away your power. Okay. Don't think that you do not have the control at the time of death. Okay. It's just take the sovereign approach. Okay? Become informed, do your research on your own, and go for the sovereign and liberated path. That's just the safe option. I mean, anything else is just kind of like, well, here, okay, I'm just going to believe that this thing's God. I'm just going to believe that this thing is my deceased family, or my deceased pets, or Jesus, or whatever. All right? You want to just lay it down and just submit? No, don't do that. Take your own path. Take the liberated sovereign path, or at least at a minimum, take your time before deciding to go anywhere. I mean, at a minimum. But I think really anything outside that sovereign path is just a recipe for disaster, to be recycled right back in this matrix. And if it's not down here, it's somewhere in the cogs of the astral realm that's linked to here. Okay. All right. So I don't want to drone on too much about that, but I wanted to make sure that it was stated clearly. And again, I apologize to all of you who, didn't really get the response you should have, especially for people who might be new to this and not necessarily seen the endless examples I've shown here. Okay, so let's jump into this. Where is it? Where did I put it? Oh, that's right. I forgot I restarted the computer and I have to just pop this in here. Okay. Where'd it go? There it is. Okay. Okay, sorry guys, I just have to queue this up again. I forgot I restarted the computer. I had everything good to go. Okay, here we go. All right. The first one is a hell of an example. And it's going to show her basically saying, I agreed. But she's also going to drop some interesting information about who she was dealing with, too. And I'm probably going to repeat this specific experience a couple times. So it's a big one.
And eventually, a being approached me who appeared to be female, although she said that was a form that she took in order to make it easier for me to relate to her. She looked like a human-ish female. Nothing really clearly defined, but vaguely, human. She appeared to have long hair and, had a vaguely human shape and a vaguely female shape. But she again welcomed me with love. And it was love that I felt through me. It was really odd. I could feel that love was a force coming.
Okay, so as usual, we have the love bomb, and she's saying, "Oh, it's going through me." It's they say it permeates me. It was just coming at me from every angle, that type of thing. It's all standard operating procedure.
But she again welcomed me with love, and it was love that I felt through me. It was really odd. I could feel that love was a force coming through me. And it was a welcoming, peaceful kind of thing. And she said, I'm going to be your guide for the next little while. I'm going to teach you about this place and what you need to know to take back into your own life.
All right. So first off, isn't it kind of interesting that, this is I'm going to be your guide for this part of your journey, blah, blah, blah. Okay. She does not know who this guide is. Okay. She's just, boom, just going along. No questions asked. No big deal. Isn't that kind of a problem? Just like all the people who assume that they're meeting God or Jesus, it's a big issue. She's going in blind here. Whereas at least other people, they're like, oh, I met Jesus or God or the Holy Father, blah, 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 blah.
A force coming through me. And it was a welcoming, peaceful kind of thing. And she said, I'm going to be your guide for the next little while. I'm going to teach you about this place and what you need to know to take back into your own life so that you can make your life better and what you want it to be. And when she said, you're going to go back to your life, I just immediately said, I don't want to go back. I want to stay here with you. And she said, no, it's your mission, your purpose to go back.
I mean, really, it's like boom, boom, hitting all the points. It's your mission. It's your job. It's always the same stuff. How come again we don't come here with the mission book? What? It's your mission. It's your duty. Well, how come we come here under the veil of forgetfulness without any recollection of where we came from, why we are here, or where we are going? Again, that's the biggest question that can be asked in all of this is the memory wipe that occurs lifetime after lifetime. No recollection, but she's got a mission. She's got a duty to perform.
Going to go back to your life. I just immediately said, I don't want to go back. I want to stay here with you. And she said, no, it's your mission, your purpose to go back.
Purpose.
So we argued about that sort of for a little while, and eventually she explained to me that I had agreed to go back, that I wasn't meant to stay here, and that I had accepted that already prior to my birth.
How did you understand that?
Hear that? I like how he asked that too, but here, listen.
A while, and eventually she explained to me that I had agreed to go back, that I wasn't meant to stay here, and that I had accepted that already.
I agreed and I accepted to that already. Now, the reason, again, I hate to stop this in the middle, but the reason why the consent thing is so bothersome to a lot of people, and again, rightfully so, but the reason why it's so bothersome is because once you enter here, a lot of crazy shit can happen. Okay? A lot of crazy stuff. And it's not fair. It's not right. Some of it's great. Some of it's horrible. Okay? But the point is you are in a world that you agreed to enter into first. Granted, yes, under deception, lifetime after lifetime, because we all didn't find ourselves at that given moment, okay? Whichever lifetime, this is the lifetime we're figuring it out, okay? Realizing our true power, our sovereign true spirit essence. So when you come here, you agree to all the crap that is contained within. Okay? It doesn't have to be moral. It doesn't have to be fair. It doesn't have to be just. And I know that it sucks, but it just is the way it is. It's part of coming here, guys. We're thrown into a world where there's nature, there's all sorts of things. So even if someone, you might not deal with someone physically assaulting you in your life, but you might get your house run over by a hurricane and lose a bunch of your stuff. Why? Because you're in an agreement inside here to be within the confines of whatever the hell happens. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it moral, doesn't make it just. I'm not explaining it away. I'm just saying that's how we can make sense of the consent thing because of the conditions that come with incarnating here.
Going to go back to your life. I just immediately said, I don't want to go back. I want to stay here with you. And she said, no, it's your mission, your purpose to go back. So we argued about that sort of for a little while, and eventually she explained to me that I had agreed to go back, that I wasn't meant to stay here, and that I had accepted that already prior to my birth.
How did you understand that?
She showed it to me from her own perspective. So she showed me myself in a very vaguely kind of spiritual form, and I knew it was me, agreeing to this with kind of a small council of other beings.
I mean, it's like, it runs the gamut. I mean, she knew, first off, it's sketchy as hell that she's experiencing this and it's coming from somebody else. Okay. Now, my personal opinion on a lot of this stuff, because near-death experiences are belief-driven, okay, major subconscious drilling that goes on in these moments with whatever the system mechanisms that are at play to manipulate and deceive, okay? So she is under the spell. I think entities, I think maybe even some sort of advanced technology even reads the spirit, the soul. Personally, I think it's the soul. But I think obviously, you got the spirit and the soul going on both at the same times. And I'm not going to go down the road of the differences between spirit and soul. We've talked about that before, but I'll do an individual video down the road again. So let's just say again that there's some sort of scanning thing going on. This entity, this AI program is taking in her life script, her belief system, and casting it back at her. Or it's just herself in some way, okay? And because she's so lost in reality, like many of us here, if we're all here, we've been lost. I mean, that just goes without saying. If we're here, we've fallen for this stuff ourselves. So, doesn't make anyone special. Everyone is in the same boat because we're here. And we agreed to. Now, there was, let me just get to this comment because I thought it's an important one to bring up. Len's just said, it just occurred to me, if your memory is wiped, then I say any agreements you made are gone too. Bye-bye. I agree. But how they work it, this can be seen clear as day in the past life regressions. How they work it is through the karma route, okay? Through the sinner judgment route, okay? It seems, in my opinion, that the memory wiping mechanism most likely occurs right around the life review period, okay? I would suspect probably after, okay? Because there's the judgment, the karma, you can go back again. You can do better next time, but you did all this other crap last time. So, in order for you to ascend and spiritually grow, we're going to need to zap your memories. Otherwise, you're not going to have an authentic experience because you're going to remember all this stuff. And let's just also add on top of that the stuff that people do happen to recall is really not helpful. It's just knowing that you've been here before, okay? And that's really cutting it short. But that's, in essence, what's going on. When people have these memories or are able to find them through regression therapy or through regression tracks, then it's just confirmation that you've been here, all right? And some of it feels extremely real, extremely authentic, and it probably is. But, we can also throw in implanted memories too. I'm sure that happens on some cases, if not many, I don't know. But with past life regressions, I tiptoed into it very carefully because I did not want to, hypnosis doesn't sit well. It doesn't sit well at all. But when you start to see that there are patterns and data points within those, well, then you can start to see how some of this has some merit, actually quite a bit of merit in my opinion. So, I didn't mean to drone on too much there, but I think it's important to put forth how important the karma, sinning, and judgment segment of all this is. Because that's what it's all about. It's all about getting us to feel guilty. Feel guilty, or, even just self-judgment, saying, man, I was supposed to do this past lifetime. I was supposed to do this, but I screwed up here. I screwed up there. I didn't do that right, blah, 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 blah. And then, boom, okay, memory zapped and rinse and repeat. There is a consent somewhere in there. Now, is it fair? No, it's absolutely appalling and disgusting and vile. But look, the person's lost in the sauce. They've already decided to go on to the life review. They've already decided to go through the soul school. They've already decided to go through all this stuff. And if the system mechanism is saying, okay, we're going to zap your memory, because you want another chance, right? You want to go and try and, work on whatever this problem is, or, you want to grow in this specific area. And the only way to do that is to zap your memory, send you back down, blah, 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 blah. Okay. That's how I seriously feel this whole thing works. It's like a big conveyor belt that everyone goes through, and it's just on autopilot. Okay. So I hope that helps to some degree. Again, I'm not vouching and saying that, this is fair or just. It's insane and horrible and awful. It's just, from everything I can tell, that's how it works.
Already, prior to my birth.
How did you understand that?
She showed it to me. from her own perspective. So she showed me myself in a very vaguely kind of spiritual form, and I knew it was me, agreeing to this with kind of a small council of other beings, agreeing to what I was going to do, but from her own perspective. So she was one of these entities or spiritual entities that was around me, but she showed me that whole scene from her perspective. She kind of put it right into my mind and into my heart.
She put it right into my mind and into my heart. So we have the love bomb working, do, and then she's admitting that it was put in her mind. That's some sketchy stuff. Some sketchy stuff. But again, the consent example goes way, way beyond her. But it's interesting to hear it in an NDE.
A council of other beings agreeing to what I was going to do, but from her own perspective. So she was one of these entities or spiritual entities that was around me, but she showed me that whole scene from her perspective. She kind of put it right into my mind and into my heart. But I could also sense it from my own perspective as well. So I was beginning to remember. I saw it from, it was really odd. I saw it from both my own and from her perspectives. Hers was stronger. But as soon as she showed all this to me and I heard myself, here we would say I agreed to a contract, but it was really more of a verbal or a heartfelt contract. When I remembered that I agreed to that with my heart, then it was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm going to be going back.
When did you agree to this?
Before my birth into this body.
Before my birth and on into this body. So this is a pre-birth memory being stated. And there are agreements made, many agreements that we make, not just with the council and part of our incarnation here, but there are ones made with our quote-unquote spirit guides, quote-unquote teachers, ascended masters, all that crap. Okay. And then you're also making agreements within some of your soul group members on top of it to maybe meet them down here at some point. And that just kind of happens on autopilot, and they have these weird things that, can trigger you to remember something by, like we've seen in the past life regressions where it's just like a signpost or something weird that just triggers them. Oh, I've got to move to California. And they move to California and they meet the member of their soul group and they marry him. I mean, that's just, but it's, there's no knowing of that while it's happening. How do they find out? Through past life regression. And then, so that's just, again, example of how all these weird agreements are made. And how just sovereignty is way, way out the window once you make it to by the time you're down here. I mean, granted, yes, we can stand strong in it while we're here and still in this physical body, but it's very, very difficult to find that while you're here because of all the distractions, all the insanity that goes on with being born here, not to mention childhood, where you are completely an open book and a sponge for your surroundings, which just happens to be the matrix system surroundings every step of the way. So it's extremely easy to lose ourselves while we're here. I lost myself. I'm sure almost everyone in this chat room lost themselves for quite a number of years before we even got to this point. Okay.
So that's,
So when did you know that?
I only knew that during my NDE. I didn't remember it until the middle of kind of my near-death experience.
Right. Okay.
So it was part of getting me to be okay with being sent back here was, you already agreed to do this. Here's what it looked like. See if you can remember that. And I did.
I was in hospital giving birth to my second child, and I don't really know exactly when it started. But I was in the process of giving birth. I was in a lot of pain, and I was very frightened, even though it was my second child. And at some stage, I did have an epidural anaesthetic. But as I say, I don't really know exactly when it started. But then suddenly I found myself travelling down a dark tunnel very, very quickly. It was dark.
Now, I'm just going to say, if you find yourself traveling quickly down a tunnel, stop it. Stop it immediately. Say, this is not what I want. We've seen examples in NDEs before where they're fighting with themselves, but there's little entities chirping in their ears saying, "Oh, you got to go back. You got to go back." And then inside their spirit, they're like, "No, I'm going back the other way. Towards the light. Blah 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 blah. Back to paradise. Back to God." If you find yourself in this moment when you're dying, stop it. Just stop it immediately. Say, I don't consent to this. Put up a shield and, make your own teleport to your independent reality that has a pure intention outside of this matrix. That's the best way to handle it. So if you ever find yourself in that scenario, assert yourself immediately. Nothing can interrupt you. Nothing can talk to you. It's just not allowed. Assert it with everything you've got.
I did have an epidural anaesthetic. But as I say, I don't really know exactly when it started. But then suddenly I found myself travelling down a dark tunnel very, very quickly. It was dark all around me, and I could hear a sort of a whooshing sound as I was going, like as though the wind was in my ears, as if I was travelling very fast. And I was travelling towards a light. I could see a light in the distance. At first it was very small, and but I was travelling very quickly towards it. And as I got closer and closer, I was thinking, I must be dead, or I must be dying. It just seemed really rather astonishing, but it didn't bother me at all. I was just travelling very quickly towards this light. And as I got almost to the light, just as though I was in the very end of the tunnel, before I got exactly to the light, I stopped. And I just started to think really clearly. I'm giving birth to a child at the moment, and I was thinking I had my other son at home who was about 2.5 and was rather difficult to look after. And
now, what I will say is it's rare to hear this type of statement. Okay, you can look at the light as the pearly gates, I guess, so to say. All right. Now, she's saying that all of a sudden, right before she reaches there, all of a sudden she's thinking, "Oh, I've got my son, I got my other child there, maybe a husband." Okay. I suggest that this right here is not something, I think it's something being transmitted to her. Okay. Because we hear time and time and time again, people say in near-death experiences that, "Oh, well, I wanted that love. I couldn't resist that love. I wanted to go to that light." Now, granted, yes, she hasn't technically reached that light, but we've heard many other near-death experiences where there are basically, maybe family members or God or Jesus, right in front of the light, which can be interpreted as the pearly gates. And they'll say, no, you got to turn around. So this seems like a moment. Now, I'm not saying this is definitely the case, but in my opinion, the way I see this is it seems like a moment where she is being told what to do or sent a message. And then, she's like, that kind of jogs me. "Oh, yeah, okay, I do got to go back there." Because the love they feel and when they reach that light is beyond words. And they'll say it's better than the birth of their own child. So anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there.
I stopped and I just started to think really clearly. I'm giving birth to a child at the moment, and I was thinking of, I had my other son at home who was about 2.5 and was rather difficult to look after, and I thought, oh, my husband couldn't handle that, and so I thought, I'd better go back. But then at the same time as going back for the children, I also knew absolutely that I'd go back for myself. I sort of almost had a sigh go through me as if, oh, all right, I'll have another go. I'll have another go at life. And so then right from that instant, I just felt...
Well, I mean, a sigh doesn't really seem very confident, right?
Sort of almost had a sigh go through me as if, oh, all right, I'll have another go.
Well, she sounds really enthused to go, right?
I'll have another go at life. And so then right from that instant, I just felt myself travelling back down the tunnel, and I woke up in the pain of giving birth and all of that sort of process, and that was basically what happened.
I was unconscious when I died, and I woke up when I passed. I woke up with a start, literally just being flung through the air. It was like a pop or a boing or a ping. It was very, very, very dramatic. And I'm floating through the blackness, the womb of creation, great term, and I was very much enjoying it. Encountered a massive spiritual being behind me, slightly behind me and up to my left, and I said, and now it's a party because there's somebody with me, I'm not alone. And this blackness, by the way, was very comfortable and comforting and enveloping, and the peace. People talk about the love, but as a highly anxious person, I've always struggled with peace. The peace. I thought about the Bible verse, the peace that passeth all understanding shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. I thought, this is what Paul's talking about, this peace. So the spiritual being's now with me in this, and I turned with a lilt in my voice, because, hey, I'm having a great time. And I said, and who are you? And the answer was, you. You are the image and likeness. I'm the original.
Oh, I'm the original. The OG came. Wow. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of being a sarcastic jerk sometimes, but I have to be sarcastic. I have to make fun of this stuff once in a while, just because it's just everything's autopilot. No questions, just boom, boom, boom. Everything's going. No big deal. No questions asked. No pushback. Nothing. Everything's love and light. Everything's amazing.
The peace that passeth all understanding shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. I thought, this is what Paul's talking about, this peace.
So man, the belief system, boom, right in our face. This is what Paul's talking about. So she has confirmation right there. That belief system driven near-death experience is boom, right in our face.
So the spiritual being's now with me in this, and I turned with a lilt in my voice, because, hey, I'm having a great time. And I said, and who are you? And the answer was, you. You are the image and likeness. I'm the original. And I thought, whoa, that would have been good to know back there, but that's awesome, and I do mean awe-inspiring great. But in several people say, you wanted to come back, you weren't ready. Nope. I know for many reasons. One, I was ready. I really felt like I'd been granted early release for good behavior. I really did. I was like, I'm out at 59 years and change. It's over. I'm done. It was a fairly peaceful passing. Not my best day, but it had a good ending. And I'm done. And not to mention, I knew I had watched myself bleed for, an hour and a half. And I thought, what in the world am I going to go back to? I knew that did not look good how it ended. It really didn't. So I was very grateful to be, I was going home. That was a prevalent feeling. I am going home.
And that's par for the course. I'm going home. I felt home. I felt like I belonged. It just felt familiar to me, felt, all that type of stuff. Very standard operating procedure in near-death experiences where they just feel at home.
It really didn't. So I was very grateful to be, I was going home. I mean, that was a prevalent feeling. I am going home. I'm going home. I'm going home. And it was so powerful. And then ultimately I was taken, see, if he told me I was dead for more than 10 minutes, and they couldn't even do CPR, because you can't do CPR on somebody when they run out of blood. So for 10 minutes I had no oxygen to the brain, no blood to the brain. So it's kind of amazing. A 59-year-old woman comes back from a bleed out that severe. So I ended up in a white room, and instead of floating, I was on my feet. And it was a big room, and there was a door on the far end of it. And I was like, hey, I've been reading about NDEs my whole life. I know what that door is. Out of my way. I'm doing the door. Don't need to ask me twice.
Wow, she seems to just be roaring and ready to go. I mean, she has a predisposition with knowledge of NDEs, confirmation from her Bible, and all is well. She knows what she's doing.
It was a big
belief system driven near-death experience. Here we come. Further confirmation of the patterns.
Room, and there was a door on the far end of it. And I was like, hey, I've been reading about NDEs my whole life. I know what that door is. Out of my way. I'm doing the door. Don't need to ask me twice. So I thought, I don't know if I have feet or legs. I don't know what's going on. But I perambulated toward the door with intention, and I was at the door, and I paused, and I said, is this the divine will for my life? And the answer was no, but. I'm on the but. What? And the answer was no, but. Whatever you decide. If you decide to go back, you decide to go forward. You go with all of God's love and mercy.
Okay. The reason why I'm pausing it here is because I find it very, very interesting when we see NDEs where they're kind of given a choice, a perceived choice, okay? Because those are the ones that seem to be, in my opinion, overwhelmingly, they already have a plan. They already know what's up. They are roaring and ready to go. So what does the system do? The system says, hey, you've got a choice. And I'll add to this, and I really don't even like going here, but I think it needs to be said. I think a lot of NDEs, especially in our time, a lot of them are chosen, okay? I'm not saying all, but I'm saying I think a lot of them are chosen, especially the ones that come back and go on speaking tours and write books and are bestsellers and, are at conferences all the time. I think she's just in a church, but the reason why I'm saying this is why wouldn't the system do this? Why wouldn't the system send people down, send people back to report on this amazing, incredible experience so that when they die, they know exactly where to go. They know exactly what they're supposed to do. So, just some food for thought.
And the answer was no, but. I'm on the but. What? And the answer was no, but. Whatever you decide. If you decide to go back, you decide to go forward. You go with all of God's love and mercy and grace and peace and care. And I thought, I'll take it. I'm going forward. I am done. I am done with this earth life. It has been a hard life. It's been a hard 2.5 years. I am done and done.
But
so then as I'm lifting up my right hand to go through, to push through the door, and I think, oh, that's interesting. I'm right-handed in heaven. I'm right-handed on earth, right-handed in heaven. I thought, how cool is that? But I lift my right hand, and then I have an image of that RN who had been at my bedside when I was on that gurney in the ER. And in this image, that RN, from whom I had extracted a promise that she wasn't going to let me die. When I said, please don't let me, before I lost consciousness, I said, promise me you're not going to let me die. And she said, oh, honey, we're not going to let you die. We have many solutions for this. Well, an image is, I'm at that door in the white room ready to move on through. An image of that nurse comes to me, and I have a vision of her sitting on a stool in like a hospital storeroom. And she's holding her head in her hands, leaning forward and sobbing. And through her tears, she's saying, I promised that woman I wasn't going to let her die. And I lost her. And And I'm like, oh man, that's real bad. And I think, ah, crap. And then I think, well, you know what? Life's full of hardships. She'll get over it. And then, kind of.
Life's full of hardships. She'll get over it.
I did think that. And then it gets worse. And then I felt her pain somewhere here, which kind of annoyed me because I'm like, I don't have it here. You know, I'm dead. And that's when it really hit me. I felt her pain. I felt that agonal grief that I had known for 2.5 stinking years. And I took, I don't know, I just kind of took a pause, and I put my right hand at my side, and I said, if I die, it's going to ruin that nurse's day.
Oh, it's going to ruin her day. Never mind my existence. Never mind where I'm going to go. Yeah, exactly. The guilt train comes rolling on in like no one's business. And, you know, I got to go back for the nurse. I got to go back for the nurse. I mean, you know, I feel bad for the nurse too, but come on.
Years. And I took, I don't know, I just kind of took a pause, and I put my right hand at my side, and I said, if I die, it's going to ruin that nurse's day. And like that, I was back on that gurney. And as Ellen and I have discussed, I was ticked off. I was like, Robert's Rules of Order, point of order. We have a first, a second, and a discussion phase. I'm not hearing any discussion.
Yeah, so you got screwed over, I guess. You know, you immediately... I think as soon as her intention went on the nurse, however she thought of that, whether it was an implanted thought or if it just came from within her, which I highly doubt, then boom, she's sent right back. It's like instant. We've seen a lot of examples of this in NDEs where they will think of something back down on Earth and then it just boom, they're sent right back to their body.
As Ellen and I have discussed, I was ticked off. I was like, Robert's Rules of Order, point of order. We have a first, a second, and a discussion phase. I'm not hearing any discussion. But I was back in that body in less than a second. And the nurse is in my face now. Lots of people in the room. Boy, it's a lot of people in that little room. Nurse is in my face, and she says, I mean lovingly, she looks at me and she goes, what is your name? Rosemary. What year is it? 2018. Where are you? A crummy excuse for an ER. So that was my response. And that's when she goes, I'll have you know this is an accredited facility.
Okay. So, gonna just take a break in a minute, but I wanted to address Laura's question. Laura Lee says, I'm 100% about free thought and speech. However, if this channel already knows its truth and isn't trying to debate, then coming here and trying to debate equals trolling? No. I don't know where you got that, Laura. Because if you're referring to what we discussed with Wayne last video, I talked about all of that at the beginning, and I didn't call him a troll at all. At all. But, you know, you'll have to rewind if you just got here, if that's what you're referring to, because I don't know what else that could be. Anyways, I'm going to take a break. Everyone here is free to speak their mind. But if it's all dogma all the time, then that's a whole nother story. But everyone's welcome to push back and say whatever the hell they want to say. All right. I'll see you in a few minutes. Thank you. All right. Thank you for your patience and waiting on the break. Okay, so let's hop right into it. Going on to... Oh boy, come on. All right, here we go. Computer's running kind of bad. All right. That's all right. Okay.
I remember that I was aware that I was awareness. So right now, if you were to realize, look down at your feet or your body, you can tell that you're looking out through a set of eyes. You are awareness through a set of eyes, but you have a body. You can look down and see your body. I was awareness looking out, but there was no body. So I was awareness viewing everything. And the most amazing part of it is there's no fear, there's no worry, there's no lack, there's no pain, there's no anger, there's no separation. There's only everything. There's oneness, there's love, there is pure, positive energy. It's just unlimited love is the best.
But yet reincarnation exists. Yet spirit guides exist. Yet all these deceivers exist. Yet this place is just one inverted nightmare after another. You know, why? Why keep coming back here? I mean, it's why give yourself away?
There is pure, positive energy. It's just unlimited love is the best I can think to explain it. You know how when you slip down into a nice hot bath or a hot tub and you kind of go, this is amazing. It would be sort of that feeling would be the best I could describe it. Now, while I was there, I had awareness of speaking to somebody. And that part, I'm not sure if it was my higher self I was speaking to or if there was actually somebody else there I was speaking to. Because again, this was all...
Okay, now I find it interesting that she uses that term. Because when we look at NDEs, again, it's belief system driven. I seriously am putting out there, and I'm not saying this is at all the way it is, but it the more I listen to NDEs over the years, the more I think this, that it seems like all that's there is like an energy mechanism that's sucking up the soul attachments, which is in the matrix, and doing a quick scan of the person and pushing it back onto them. Now she says, I don't know if it was my higher self or what, but I mean, that it's interesting to hear those terms because part of me thinks that maybe the Matrix has to do that, right? Maybe it has to throw it back on us to keep the deception going. I don't know. I'm not saying, again, I'm just thinking out loud. I'm not saying any of this is true. It's interesting. All we do know is that there is certainly some mechanisms in place in order to achieve a certain result for this matrix.
Describe it. Now, while I was there, I had awareness of speaking to somebody. And that part, I'm not sure if it was my higher self I was speaking to or if there was actually somebody else there I was speaking to. Because again, this was all in vibration. It's not visual, so you're not seeing people much like we see people right now. So I remember clear as day this conversation saying, you know what, I'm done, this is frustrating, I'm tired. I just remember my soul being very tired and I don't want to do this anymore. And we got to talking and I was like, you know what, no, there's a lot more to learn. I do have the hang of this, it's going really well. You know what,
Talk about a 360. Here, we'll just finish this off and then I'm going to rewind
Let me get back in there. I do want to go back. I'm not finished yet. I do have some work I can do. So I came back in. So coming back
All right. So let me just rewind that.
I'm tired. I just really to, because again, this was all in vibration. It's not visual, so you're not seeing people much like we see people right now. So I remember clear as day this conversation saying, you know what, I'm done. This is frustrating. I'm tired. I just remember my soul being very tired, and I don't want to do this anymore. And we got to talking, and I was like, you know what? No, there's a lot more to learn. I do have the hang of this. It's going really well. You know what? Let me get back in there. I do want to go back. I'm not finished yet. I do have some work I can do. So I came back in. Oh. So coming back into awareness, have you ever had a dream where you're like, oh, I know I was dreaming, but I can't quite remember what happened? This was nothing like that. This I can remember clear as day, as if it happened just moments ago. I mean, clear as day. I can go to that space and time right now or anytime I wish to and remember it fully, experience it fully now. And it's recently been explained to me that I had that choice. I had that option to either come back remembering or come back not remembering, and I chose to come back remembering because all of this accident actually ended up being a really big spiritual awakening for me to help me in this, what we...
Okay, let me just say that for I don't think I have seen one NDE that will say that this wasn't like some sort of spiritual awakening or some sort of like clear indication of an awakening. They'll often say it's the most real thing they've ever experienced, blah, blah, blah. And it is, you know, a life-changing experience. So, and it normally takes some time to readjust when you're back into society. There could be a period of depression. And oftentimes, I mean, I would love to know the percentage, but oftentimes it results, if the person is married, often results in divorce. It is a total life-changing experience for the person involved.
Either come back remembering or come back not remembering, and I chose to come back remembering because all of this accident actually ended up being a really big spiritual awakening for me to help me in this what we call ascension of our human species. But the biggest point I really want to make about crossing over to the other side, there is no other side. There is no death. It really is like stepping out of a movie and walking into the next room. Sort of like our life right now is the movie. So when you go to watch a movie in a movie theater, you're very much into the movie. You're very much into what you're watching. You actually even feel like you're there sometimes. You're experiencing it. And then when it ends, the lights come on and you get up and walk out with your friends. You're like, oh, that was really fun. What a great movie. And then you go on about your life. Life is sort of like that. It really is like stepping from one room to another. Or when you're dreaming and you wake up from a dream, you remember sort of, oh, I know I was asleep and I know I was dreaming. And then you wake up from your sleep and all of a sudden you're aware of life again. It's very much like that. So life is the dream in that story. And when you cross over, when you wake up back into your wholeness, it's like, oh, I remember that was a dream. Not really, that was your life. And then you're back into your oneness, your wholeness. And that place is nothing but love. There really is no negative, no anger, no fear, no hate. We create all that here in this life.
Oh, but yet, everything is hunky-dory on the other side. And it's just, okay, I'll just blindly follow whatever. You know, it's a setup job, guys. It's a setup job, okay? They need to put that love bomb They need to put that that halo, that euphoria rush over you in order to keep you coming back, or at least at a minimum to keep you within the cogs of the matrix machinery. Either way, it's not good. You're not running the show. You're giving yourself up to an outside source that you know nothing about. You have no recollection about it. Oh, it might feel familiar. Well, why does it feel familiar? Because you've been doing this lifetime after lifetime. And it's injecting all this love bomb into you. It's giving you all this great feelings, this euphoria rush, but you know nothing about it. I know nothing about it because we have been mind wiped when we come here. So should we just, oh yeah, do we just trust everyone we meet once the first moment we meet them? I mean, no, we don't. Maybe if like one of our close friends or family members vouches for them, we will likely have more trust of them. But do we just blindly trust everyone we meet? No. We evaluate their character. We sit down, we talk to them, blah, blah. But the problem is you don't have the chance to do that. You're just immediately hit with an outside force of energy of love and euphoria and rush and feeling like you're home, blah, 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 blah. And everything unfolds. And it's just, let's go along to get along. Everything's fine. Everything's on the up and up. You see what I'm saying? I mean, it's really, really crazy stuff. Just give yourself the chance to make a sovereign decision. An informed sovereign decision where you don't have to make a decision the first freaking couple seconds that you leave the body. Because that's what they do. They try and capitalize off of that transfer process where, you're crossing over. You're crossing over from the physical body to your true spirit essence. And then the soul attachment is there still lingering about. And you might have the family members come in, the Jesus figure, the God figure, the pets, deceased pets, all this stuff. Come and try and rush you along. Hurry, come on. Trust us. It's us, I swear. Trust us. It's okay. You see what I'm saying? Why would we don't do that here. We don't just blindly trust things here. Why would it be any different when we cross over?
Really is no negative, no anger, no fear, no hate. We create all that here in this life. Meaning everything that comes to us is energy, and it's all just light. It's all love. We take that love and create our reality. So we bend that light into whatever it is we are witnessing and observing. So we actually create the fear, and that can be a whole nother video as well. But I really just wanted to stress the point that when you cross over or when you die, it's not scary. It's love, it's beautiful, and it's easy. And no matter how gruesome or painful or horrific it seems on this side, you actually don't experience that once you're through the other side. You don't remember those parts. At least I didn't. My mind actually didn't recall any of that. I had no pain. It was all very, very easy and just really lovely. It was really beautiful. I remember thinking this was actually so nice. I really struggled with the decision to come back because it was so great there.
So I am bigger and more expansive than what I thought I was. The body is like a coat, and I can leave it, and I can go home. It feels like home. It feels like we have returned to what we are made of. It is bliss. It is joy. It is total acceptance and no judgment whatsoever. It is being seen for everything you are, everything you've done, everything you've thought, and being accepted and understood and loved for that. even all those things, the good, the bad, and the ugly, even all those things that you really wish no one would ever figure out that you had that thought, it knows. And I met with beings of light who were sort of the personification of this love, who just embraced me and surrounded me in this total acceptance, this total love. And I found myself saying, I'm not going back. They were about 15 feet tall. And I felt...
They were about 15 foot tall. 15 foot tall. Hey, isn't that a little intimidating? It's an intimidation tactic used to get you to, oh my God, this being's bigger than me. Just like what? Government's bigger than you down here, right? The whole mechanisms of government, religion's bigger than you because all these religious institutions, the authorities are bigger than you. But just because something's taller, I mean, even humanity's desire to build, these ridiculously big structures around. They're there to intimidate you, and they often are attached to government. But just because they're big and they're looming down, that means they assert authority over me. I don't think so, and they shouldn't. You shouldn't have to be looking up 100 feet, 50 feet, 25 feet at a being to give respect. Remember, respect is earned, not assumed.
And I found myself saying, I'm not going back. They were about 15 feet tall. And I felt in a way like I was arguing with them because I was absolutely sure I was not going to go back and nobody could make me because it's nasty here. People are mean to each other. There's no love. What we think of as love is such a mild version, watered down version of what I experienced at home and what we'll all experience at home. It was like, and trying to do anything is like walking through hip deep peanut butter. You can't get anything done. That instant manifestation just doesn't work down there. Sometimes you have to wait for years for something to manifest. By that time, you forgot you wanted it to manifest. It's like, oh, what's this? Oh, yeah, 15 years ago, I wanted to do that. Oh, too late. So I'm standing there going, I'm not going back and you can't make me. And they weren't arguing because they're all loving and their acceptance, total acceptance and understanding. And they said, you can do anything you want. Now, some people get told they have to come back. I was given a choice. Obviously, I made the wrong one, but or from one perspective anyway. And so they said, but let us remind you why you chose that life and why you chose all of those nasty, awful things that you experienced in that life that apparently felt like they had no meaning or punishment. But let us just remind you. Then you can choose because you are a divine, powerful being.
Let us just remind you, because remember, you're a divine, powerful being. But let us just remind you. Let's put you in check a little bit.
No meaning or punishment, but let us just remind you. Then you can choose because you are a divine, powerful being with free will. And then I woke up in the emergency room. And I couldn't remember what they reminded me of, but I remembered that I had had a choice, and somehow I had really gotten it wrong. And I said, expletive, why am I here? And a nurse came over and she said, "You were in a car accident, dear." I said, "No, that's not what I mean. Why am I here?" "Well, you're in the hospital because you were in a car accident." And I said, "Never mind." And I kind of went, "I'm here."
And
Boy, it kind of just, boom, right back. No thoughts, just all of a sudden you're back on Earth. But she had a choice, right?
I saw this light farther away that kind of looked like a sun. And he very quickly said, "Do you want to go there?" And I said, "Yes." And my soul just flew towards this light. And as I got closer to that light, everything that had been painful in my childhood, the poverty, the neglect, the emotional abuse, all of that seemed to wash away. That wasn't your fault. You're loved, you're perfect, you're fine. You're a child of God.
All of it just seemed to wash away. The Matrix is beautiful. Everything's great. No big deal. You got a one-way ticket back here. Everything's great. Come on.
That had been painful in my childhood. The poverty, the neglect, the emotional abuse, all of that seemed to wash away. That wasn't your fault. You're loved, you're perfect, you're fine. You're a child of God, you are loved completely. Earlier in the near-death experience, I had heard "be like a little child," and at that moment, I felt like a little child. I felt like I was loved deeply by God. Nothing could harm me. I felt completely free, and I didn't want to leave that realm because you can't imagine that love. It's so intense, and we don't feel anything like it here. We feel glimpses of it here. Loving a child, loving your parents, loving, your spouse, it's all just it's not the same. This is complete. And those are just pieces is the only way I can describe it. And that love just boomed through me. I felt people's prayers trying to pull me back. So people always ask, "Well, what if you pray for someone and they die?" They still hear it. It's like my soul heard that I was in surgery and they were trying to get me to stay.
Yeah, and we've gone over her NDE in the past. I firmly believe that this type of thing works. It's an outside force that is praying and sending out an energy. Now, is it going to work every time? No, but I think it depends on the person's life script specifically. According to the Matrix, her time was not up. Otherwise, they wouldn't be back here. All right. So she is getting this information transmitted to her of prayers and yada, yada, yada to, heal and come back.
And that love just boomed through me. I felt people's prayers trying to pull me back. So people always ask, "Well, what if you pray for someone and they die?" They still hear it. It's like my soul heard that I was in surgery and they were trying to get me to stay. And I remember thinking, that's sweet, but I'm really fine. I'm safe. I'm taken care of. And the closer I got to God, the more I thought, I don't want to go back. This is not for me. I want to stay here because I've never felt this good. There is nothing to compare to this. I want to get closer and closer to this all-knowing love. But at some point, I was stopped. It was like there was a barrier. And
I was stopped. It was like a barrier.
And I felt this booming voice. And people always say, "Well, is a voice masculine or feminine?" It was booming. That's all I know. It just kind of rattled inside of me as if the voice was talking through me. And the voice said, "Look down." And then suddenly I saw like a place on earth and there was this river. I saw it as a metaphor. This was the river of life. And I was also given a message that I was going to teach, and that mission has been incredibly powerful. God was right. I actually teach at a college called Trinity River, and out of many of the classrooms, you look out the windows and there's a river. I take my students to go meditate down by the river.
So, from what I felt in my near-death experience, I was given a life mission to teach and to remind students to turn on their lights. When I was in that realm, this seemed like a metaphor, like very easy to do. You just come down to Earth, you teach, and you remind people to be their best self and to be open to light and whatever you want to describe light as. Since I'm an English professor, I try very hard to describe what I saw with words, but how can you describe this light that comes up at you and fills you with a feeling of peace? I was told that I was going to go back and teach. And I argued with God because, I wanted to make money. And growing up poor, I was like, no way. And when I said that, God kind of hurled me back into my body, and it was like this darkness took over. And the first thing I remember is, when you're outside of surgery, they ask you your name, and my throat felt dry. But I had read about near-death experiences, so I knew what happened to me. And I also knew that I wasn't just in my body, like this massive experience had just happened, and I was having trouble feeling like all of me was in my body. My energy was expanded.
So you can see how her story so far is a great catalyst. Talk about the production value in this story. She was given the full archonic experience to share her experience and come down and share it with the world. And it's kind of funny because when you hear NDEs, you'll often see how they are directed to look down. And I guess I really should be careful when I say often, but you'll see NDEs where they are told to look down, or maybe think about like their daughter, their son, their husband, their mother, their father, and look in a certain direction, and then boom, sent right back to their body. Now, what are they doing? They're complying. They're consenting. They're agreeing to a change in direction from an outside force to do something because they're told to. They don't have to comply, but they do. And, of course, we can get into the whole, euphoria and love bomb and, basically hypnotic trance that all these experiences are in. But it doesn't change what's going on.
And so I thought of myself in third person. They asked me several times, what's your name? And I said, her name is Trisha. I guess I have to come back and be her, but in my mind, I was like, I'm so much more, like I'm not just this physical body. I'm a consciousness that touched something so much more than this particular body. And I was kind of sad to be in this broken body, to know that all those emotional wounds were healed in the presence of God, but now I still have to get along with these family members, and I still have to process what happened in my life. And I remember some sadness about having to come back to being me, because it was a lot more fun to be connected to God and connected to everyone.
After all this amazing time, he looks at me and he says, look, you have to go back. And I'm looking at him and I said, no, I don't think so. I really like it here. He's like, no, you got to go back. It's not your time. And I'm looking at him like, no, I want to stay. And then I felt this tugging, like in my chest, but coming from my back. And I started being pulled. And I went back into my body.
Dun, dun, dun. He felt pulling.
I opened my eyes, and the doctor that was doing CPR, she kind of got surprised, and she kind of lifted her head back a little. And then I went right back to my father, and I was in this space again. And he's looking at me, he says, no, you really don't get it, you have to come back. And he said, look, this is what we're going to do. So we kind of started to structure a deal in heaven. And he said to me, look, when it's your time, I promise I will come and get you.
Oh, so there's the reassurance thing. We've seen this before in NDEs where I promise when it is your time, it's not your time is not now. You can't come and experience this any further. But I promise when you're on your deathbed and very vulnerable, I am going to come down and personally help you cross over. And then you get to do it all over again.
And I looked at him and I'm thinking, wow, what an amazing deal that is. How could I say no?
Little does he know.
And so I accepted that. And I went back. When you have your experience of dying, you get this interconnectivity. You feel like you're connected to everything. So that sense of oneness is really profound. When you come back into your physical body again, you feel that sense of separation. So there's something about being in body that makes us feel like we're independent of the rest of the world. It's really soothing, eye-opening, and it's very calming. It's a calming feeling that it permeates through you to know that everything is as it should be, in a sense, right?
All right. Everything is as it should be. If everything is as it should be, then count me out. If a totalitarian future is as it should be, count me out. If a parasitic monetary and consumerism culture is as it should be, then count me out. I'm not interested. Okay? And the only path, in my opinion, is a sovereign, an informed, sovereign, and liberated path at the time of death. Outside of that, I don't care what anyone's opinion is, because that's what I'm doing. You can do what you want. You want to go to the light? You want to go and just roll the dice and just buy what the system is selling you and end up back here or end up as a cog in the wheel within the system? Then so be it. It's, everyone has to do what they feel they need to do, because I am not here trying to tell anyone what to do. All I'm trying to do is say that, you combine the fact that we come here with our memories wiped, no recollection of where we came from, why we're here, where we are going, and just to, boom, give yourself away at the time of death to something you can't even recall, but you think you may recall, and who has to use a love bomb and an energy emitting mechanism on you to win you over, to give you love that you have never felt on earth. Any NDE, any single NDE that you read about the love bomb will tell you that there's no comparison to the love that they felt in those moments during their NDE. Nothing like is experienced here. So can you see how that, what if I had a love gun and I walked around the street? What if if I had a love gun? I walked around the street and, just zapping people with my love gun. Love gun. What would I have? I would have control. People are like, oh my God. Oh, love. I'm, like freaking Frankenstein coming towards me. You see the problem there? That's a problem. Blind trust. Again, do you blindly trust everything you experience while you're here? That's not to be like Mr. Negative. It's just to be common sense. You don't blindly trust anything. Look within. Take the sovereign, informed, and liberated approach. And what happens after that? I don't know.
Everything's working towards a goal, and that goal is well beyond what we may ever know, but it's still doing it.
I'm on the other side, and I'm around all these other beings, and I'm just saying this is absolutely blissful. I could spend the rest of eternity parked right here doing just exactly what I'm doing. Wonderful place. And about that time I really got that set in my head, I felt somebody grab the arm that I no longer had. I left my body behind, and I feel somebody grab my arm and pull me and throw me to the surface of the water. I didn't have time to sit and ponder whether or not I'd like to go. And if you'd have asked me, a couple of minutes later, I'd have looked at you and said, I didn't want to go. This was not my idea. It appeared that it was somebody else's idea. Now, I do believe, in fact, it was my idea, but it's a greater self. It's part of your subconscious, that which you are not conscious of while you're here, but it is part of you. And it's actually the larger part of you. So I do believe that you choose to come back. I don't think you're pushed into it. And I don't think anybody on the other side is telling you, this is what you need to do next.
But there is kind of a direction, right? And it customizes it. Some near-death experiences, they claim that, they didn't have a choice. They had to come right back. But those who kind of go along for the ride and have these predetermined belief systems, the system's like, oh, okay, no, we'll give you a choice. We'll give you the illusion of choice, just like Democrat and Republican. The illusion of choice. You don't have a choice.
I'm on the other side. I'm at source. Everything's wonderful, and somebody grabs my arm.
As I started to feel really comfortable, I felt like my body was just expanding, and I was feeling the safety. I was feeling like great waves of love, and everything became light. And I remember I was lying down, and I just felt like my whole being was expanding and expanding in this amazing love where I felt completely safe, like nothing else that I had felt before. And like there was nothing to do, and I just was kind of taking it all in. And it was such a deep contrast from the fear and the anxiety and the constriction that I had felt minutes before, that I just completely took it in, and I just felt amazing. It just felt like it was clouds, like a very misty white all around me, with these beings around me felt very held and contained.
The beings around me felt very held and contained. It's kind of an interesting statement.
It just felt like it was clouds, like a very misty white all around me, with these beings around me felt very held and contained. And I just wanted to lay there and be in that. There was no urgency. There was nothing at all that I needed to do. It was just taking it in and expanding in this amazing, unconditional love and light. In this light, I just felt like it was all light. Like my being was all light and I was light, and there was no difference between the light that I saw and myself. And there was really no distinct boundaries. And as I just laid, taking this in and expanding in this light and love, I don't know really how much time. It seemed like I was there for a while. And after a while of just experiencing this peace, I heard a voice from behind me, from above me, saying, "You need to go back."
So she's having a good old time, just chilling. All of a sudden, a voice pops up and says, "You need to go back."
For a while. And after a while of just experiencing this peace, I heard a voice from behind me, from above me, saying, "You need to go back." And at that time, I was not very excited about hearing that. And telepathically, I kind of communicated to what I felt was the voice of God that I did not want to go back, that I didn't want to go back, that I just wanted to feel this love. This is where I belonged. I felt that this was really home to me in many ways.
But
this is what felt good. And I voiced that in my mind. And then I heard that this voice said, "It's not your time. It's not your time yet. You have to go back." And so I was very shocked. And at that moment, I felt very disturbed, because I felt like I was going to lose this amazing feeling of light and love that I had not experienced in the earthly plane. And so for me,
so again, she's talking, standard operating procedure again, where she's mentioning, she never felt this type of love on earth, but in this location where she was, she did. But yet something is telling her what to do. Something is being the boss of her, and she caves.
And so I was very shocked. And at that moment, I felt very disturbed, because I felt like I was going to lose this amazing feeling of light and love that I had not experienced in the earthly plane. And so for me, I was very distraught by this. I experienced the earthly plane as a place of fear and a place of constriction. And it was almost like going back to that first experience of that space of darkness that I moved through. It was almost like I had been told, this is where, you have to go back to this place. And that's what I interpreted it as. And that's what I felt was happening. And so I did, because I'm here. And so I did. I returned And as I was coming into my body, I felt deeply abandoned. I felt deeply betrayed.
I felt deeply betrayed. She didn't stand up for herself. That's the problem. She didn't stand up for herself. She went through all the motions of a standard near-death experience, was given time to even reflect and relax. Then all of a sudden someone came knocking and said, "Hey, you, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to get back down there. Your time is not, it's not your time." Who is that entity telling her what to do? That's what I want to know. And why is she listening?
I felt deeply abandoned. I felt deeply betrayed. I felt deeply disturbed by having to come back and be in this plane because I didn't want to lose that love. I didn't want to lose that feeling and that light. And when I was coming back in, I could see myself coming kind of back into my body, and I could feel this dense veil of darkness, of constriction, and of fear on the planet, like almost like a dark cloud.
I mean, I did a recent video on a pre-birth memory where I think the man had called Earth a evil black goo or something like that. But evil, I don't know. Anyways, you can look back. It wasn't that long ago. I did a commentary on it about a month ago. And he talks about his whole pre-birth experience and how he purposely set up an agreement to come down here to be able to retain the memory of the pre-birth memory. But part of the deal was his life had to be shittier. He could have lived a life of luxury and had a great time and blah blah blah, but because he wanted to remember that pre-birth memory moment, that one specific moment before he came down here, the system was like, no. Okay, we got to change the script. You know, you've got to suffer more. You've got to suffer more. And here she is saying how she feels that energy, because he said as he was going through about to go through the tube, jumped in some like a pond of water, which is very common and a data point to be aware of in pre-birth memories. And he says, you know, the energy was terrible. You know, I can't remember offhand exactly the word he used, but you can see it in the thumbnail. I put it in there.
See myself coming kind of back into my body, and I could feel this dense veil of darkness, of constriction, and of fear on the planet, like almost like a dark cloud. And all I could say is I didn't want to come back.
Turned my attention to where I was really supposed to be going, which was to my board. So my board was made up of 3 souls. One soul felt really tall and was very, the word I'm looking for, he was a very experienced soul. And then 2 souls, one on each side.
Okay. I am going to take a quick break. And We will be back in a moment. Be about 5 minutes. So just chill for a moment, take a stretch break, grab some water, do what you got to do, and I will see you back here shortly. Thank you so much. All right. So we are back. I would like to say I am in agreement with Laura. A lot of people don't know. Excuse me, hold on. A lot of people don't know how this platform really works and the things you can and cannot say. So let's just chill with the talk. Okay, if you know, we all know the obvious about what's going on in the world. There are plenty of other channels you can talk about it with. I agree it's spiritual warfare and all that stuff, but let's keep it to a minimum. You know, at least try to cover your words up a little bit, you know, and I hate saying that stuff, but you know, this is like what I do here, I feel is much more important than whatever the hell's going on with the distractions out there. Like, that's my opinion. I'm not saying it is, because for everyone, it could mean something else. But the point is it puts things at risk. Okay. All right. That's the bottom line. So, I don't want, you know, I have the chat wide open, but at the same time, you know, just inviting attraction that is not necessary. That's all. And I'd like to just kind of keep it chill for now. That's all. So, all right. So let's get into the last 15, 20 minutes of the video, minus the commentary, and that'll be about it. So, there we go.
And all I could say is I didn't want to come back.
All right, so here's the start of the new one.
Turned my attention to where I was really supposed to be going, which was to my board. So my board was made up of 3 souls. One soul felt really tall and was very, the word I'm looking for, he was a very experienced soul. And then 2 souls, one on each side of the middle soul, who were talking to me about my life here on earth. And I get the sense that I was like slamming my hand on the table. It was a very business meeting, and it was talking about me coming back. And at that point, I was feeling like I didn't want to come back. And so they were showing me things that I had done in life and things that were still left for me to do.
Oh, yeah, of course. You've got, unfinished business, got all these things to do, and you got to go back down. I mean, what else is new? I mean, how many times can we hear this? It's endless. It happens all the time in NDEs. How come we don't know what we're supposed to do when we come here? How come we're so in the dark when we're born here under the veil of forgetfulness that it takes basically having a traumatic experience through an NDE to be told that, oh, you have a mission, you have this, you have that. And then you come back here and you're still twiddling your thumbs. No offense to her. I'm not picking on her. I'm just saying, just in general, we see this so often that how much more obvious could it be? What is the mission? How come we don't know when we come down here? How come it's a complete blackout? No guidebook, no nothing. Nothing. We have no clue what the heck we're supposed to do. But yet we're on a mission. Yet we have unfinished business. Yet we have this to do. Yet we have to grow spiritually. Blah, 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 blah. This is a system you cannot please. You can't please it. And that is the biggest problem. Not only do you come here with the veil of forgetfulness, but you come here trying to please a system in the afterlife that you can't please. You cannot meet the expectations of what is expected. The agreements you made, the so-called agreements. Break those agreements, shred them in half, and tell them to take a hike. Yes, I know we have the the globe propaganda. When even though it's we live in basically a virtual reality, and our suits, these meat suits, interpret the world around us. So it's kind of funny because not only is the whole globe thing ridiculous, but so is the flat thing, because in a sense we're just interpreting this reality around us through the meat suit. It's just rendering, we walk outside, we walk around our home, and everything is rendered around us through the meat suit, through the eyes, through the brain, through the body. So it's kind of even insane for me to sign on to anything, considering we're all sitting here and we're just interpreting an illusion around us. So how can we even classify anything as a shape? I mean, I don't believe the whole mainstream narrative about what Earth's shape is, and nor do I care. I just don't care. I think it's funny. I think it's insane. It's ridiculous. It's just one lie of many endless lies. So that's why I always find it funny how how it's always it seems to be like the truther soup du jour, right? Oh, the shape of the earth. And that's like the king of all truths, but it's like, okay, that's one truth out of how many truths that, we've been lied about. We could say, oh, it's the shape of the earth, blah, blah. I mean, and if you look into how holograms work and the surface levels and all that stuff, so you could see, it requires a certain type of surface which would not correlate with something round. But the problem is they're all telling lies. Not only are we being lied to about, the shape, which I have to, this is so stupid that I have to be careful about this topic. But there's a whole little notice on YouTube. We got to be careful about this. Can't go too far on this one. But, the shape of the earth, it's like, we have this body and it renders the experience around us because it's basically this is like the human body is like a virtual reality suit and interprets this experience around us. It's nuts. Anyways, okay, that's enough of that rant. Sorry. Hey, PK, I hope you're doing well. And Laura, welcome to the Last Timers Club. Thank you for joining. Great to have you. Thank you. And Bear Christ, you're a new member as well. Thank you for joining the Last Timers Club through the YouTube memberships.
And at that point, I was feeling like I didn't want to come back. And so they were showing me things that I had done in life and things that were still left for me to do. And one of the biggest things for me to do was to be here for my daughter, who at the time was only 4. So after having this conversation with my board that takes place in your brain because you don't sit and talk back and forth with them, I was then slammed back in my body. Love. Yeah, that's why there was such a fight at the board, because I wasn't going to come back. I wasn't going to come back and do life. Life is hard. Life can be really tough.
Okay, so the board is basically, in my opinion, the Council of Elders, the perceived, bigwigs of the Matrix that, they're still, and the minion level, but they are capable of making you think that they are in control. Why is there multiple? Okay, let me pop up the camera for this baby. If there is this wonderful God, this wonderful creator, why does God have this minion council of elders, the council, all this stuff? Why is there a round table meeting? Some get to meet God, some get to meet Jesus, some get to meet Buddha, some get to meet Muhammad, some get to do all this stuff, and then she gets to see the council. But then you have ones who, they have a direct connection. They know they are dealing with God. They know, without any doubt. But one thing we do know that exists is this council of, quote, elders. The council. I mean, there's been all different names. Council of Nine, Council of Elders. And there's usually 3, but sometimes there's an intimidation factor too, where there could be 9, could be 6. And it's just an intimidation factor on the person experiencing it at the time, okay? And we see this in pre-birth memories. We see this in near-death experiences. We see this in some of the DMT and ayahuasca trip reports. People who have these life-changing experiences where they're reborn, but yet they're dealing with some outside source. But yet some other people are dealing with, the big kahuna, apparently. Why is there why is there a division? Why is there a division in place? Why are some worthy of seeing the Grand Pumbaa Father, the one, and why are some not? Because it's all based on the belief system. The belief system drives everything home on how someone is going to experience something. And that's a fact. I mean, that you can go to the University of Virginia Division of Perceptual Studies and look at it for yourself. You can look at Ian Stevenson, Jim Tucker. You can look at I'm having a mind fart here. Michael Newton's books, specifically Past Life Regression. I know there's 2 names I'm forgetting. Anyways, point is it's all about how you are molded in your lifetime, in turn, will represent the type of experience you are going to have if you have a near-death experience. It's just wild stuff how this all plays out.
We don't have the kind of love here on earth that we have over there. And I just wanted to stay home. I was home. I knew it was home. No doubt about I went home. And so I was actually felt like I was being asked to leave home. I was being kicked out of my home to come back here. Now, I have been told, and in some...
I was being kicked out of my home. Right?
I knew it was home. No doubt about I went home. And so I was actually felt like I was being asked to leave home. I was being kicked out of my home to come back here.
I was being kicked out of my home to come back here. Boy, that sounds like a loving God, doesn't it? Should we take a poll on that in the chat? Does that sound like a loving God that's just gonna, send you on back? Come on.
Now, I have been told, and in some cases looking back now, because it has been about 10 years for me, that we choose to come back. But when I first came back, it was very difficult for me because I felt forced.
And I was just from.
When I first came back, I felt it was forced. She was guilt tripped into it. And her testimony kind of says that. I mean, you can beat around the bush and say, oh, blah, blah, but, you know, she was forced, okay? But she was forced because she felt obligated. She was told something and obliged. She did as she was told, not thinking about a sovereign point of view, not going forth and making her own decisions, but listening to outside forces and allowing them or it to draw her path back here into the nightmare.
Told, and in some cases looking back now, because it has been about 10 years for me, that we choose to come back. But when I first came back, it was very difficult for me because I felt forced.
And I was just from above looking through and able to see the room itself and what was happening. And I saw the doctor who had operated on my back standing in the doorway in his scrubs, and my husband standing in front of him, and my two children like on a small couch behind him. And at that point, as I was watching this, my guide then said, I also want you to look over here. I want to show you the prayers of the people that have been praying for you. And as I looked off to that side, I saw it was shown to me as though each prayer was a musical note, and like on a score, on music that you would read. And what he impressed to me was each prayer has its own vibration, and each one links to the next one. And so he showed all of these musical notes like linking together, and then they were coming up closer and closer to where we were. And then at that point, he had me realize that my daughter was praying because she was afraid that I had died when the doctor came and was talking to my husband. And so he showed her praying that I would live. And her prayer, once it linked on to the other prayers from the other people, all of a sudden I was filled with all of the emotion of, oh my God, that's my husband.
Wow. So all of a sudden, something's coming closer to her. These musical notes are coming closer to her. Then all of a sudden, she starts thinking of her husband, kind of like when we were talking about the NDE earlier in the show. How, she got closer and closer. Basically, she reached like I like to call it the pearly gates, okay? Which is the crossover point between the tunnel and the light, okay? And where she said, all of a sudden, she started thinking about her kids. Interesting, right? She's seeing something coming towards her, and all of a sudden she's having a different type of mindset, and she's concentrating on it. So just like the woman earlier was concentrating on the pinpoint of light, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then all of a sudden she's there. This is really important stuff because, everyone has their different belief systems and how this stuff kind of rolls out, but it's kind of saying the same thing. But because each person has a certain set of belief systems, it is represented differently. That's all. So it's kind of like reading between the lines. Sometimes it's very direct and obvious. You can see the correlations, because it's the same thing. It's the light, blah, blah, blah. But in this case, for her, she's seeing, the musical notes, and they are like an energy force that are going to intertwine with her being and give the matrix the result it wants. Okay, so I'm going to rewind this because it's a really important thing to listen to.
And what he impressed to me was each prayer has its own vibration.
Each prayer.
And each one links to the next one. And so he showed all of these musical notes like linking together. And then they were coming up closer and closer to where we were. And then at that point, he had me realize that my daughter was praying because she was afraid that I had died when the doctor came and was talking to my husband. And so he showed her praying that I would live. And her prayer, once it linked on to the other prayers from the other people, all of a sudden I was filled with all of the emotion of, oh my God, that's my husband, that's my kids. My kids are going to grow up without a mother like I grew up without a father if I don't decide to go back to my life.
Guilt trip, guilt trip, guilt trip, guilt trip. Oh my God. So something exterior to her is sending energy to her in the form of what? Musical notes, prayer. And she is susceptible to an outside force that is going to lure her back here. It's the same type of mechanism, just in a different presentation because of her belief system. Because she already has this embedded belief system, which the Matrix says, okay, all right, we got her where we want her. All we got to do is this. And, in this case, maybe the children are praying for her and sending that out to her. Maybe they're not. I don't know. There's no way to know. But we saw an example earlier of prayer. Remember the power of prayer. It works. That's what roughly what was said earlier by the previous woman sharing her story. And she felt it. And the energy's coming closer and closer and closer and closer. So you see the correlations there. It's just about the Matrix customizing the experience to the person. And in turn, it gets the result it wants, which is to send her right back to Earth.
And so...
Look at her. She's crying. This poor thing. This poor woman. I feel bad for her. I feel bad for all these people. I might sound a little condescending or sarcastic at times, but I feel for all these people. I do. Because you can tell when you have a pure soul spirit out there who is just misled, and you just want to give them a hug and say, hey, listen, you're being deceived. And you can't. There's nothing you can do.
Mother, like I grew up without a father, if I don't decide to go back to my life. And so it was impossible for me not to choose to go back, as much as I just was in so much peace and love, and not yet having gotten to be with my father and my brother and my family there. But it was, I just knew that I had to make the choice to go back to my life. So once I made that decision, my guide communicated and said, you will be able to remember enough of this, and you will have things that will confirm to you the validity and the truth of this experience. But you won't be able to remember everything, because if you did, then it would it would color your free will.
Boom. Memory wipe right up front in our face. Okay? Saying, and what is it disguised as? Free will? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? We come here totally blind, shooting from the hip every single which way we go. But yet we made agreements, and somehow she has a near-death experience, and they still say to her, well, it's going to interrupt with your free will. We're going to have to erase your memory here. See a problem with that? She shouldn't even be in this situation. That's kind of my point with all of this, is she should not be in this situation. She should not allow it to continue, just like we shouldn't allow it to continue when we cross over. We should not be giving ourselves up to something else. That's really it. It's all about the sovereign, informed, liberated approach so we can make the best decision for us. Not give something outside of us possible power and extortion techniques. Because that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with extortionists, manipulators, deceivers, nasty, nasty things, okay? And then what happens? We lose our memory again. We come back here. We end up in other matrix realms. We don't know. The point is at the time of death, it is the most important moment for all of us to stand our ground and say, enough is enough. We're going to do what we're going to do. And however it plays out, it plays out. I mean, the alternative, you want to come back here? Do you want to go to some other realm in the Matrix where, it's a ghoul, if you think this place is a gulag, you think they don't have other places out there that are even worse where they just send us and say, oh, well, here, we're going to cloud your memory even more. And good luck getting out of there. This isn't fear narratives. It's just common sense. It's just saying, okay, stand up for yourself and see what the hell happens. That's it.
You would no longer, your will wouldn't be free any longer, because you'd say, oh, this is supposed to happen at such and such a time in the future. And so you wouldn't be choosing one way or another anymore. You would be following what you remembered.
Yeah, so we're going to just have to zap your memory, okay? All right. Next.
And so we said those things would be removed from my memory.
Oh, yay! Yay! Oh, my God. That sounds amazing. These things are going to have to be removed. Well, can we get a checklist of exactly what is removed? I wonder what they can be. I wonder what stuff kind of lumped in with all the other things that were going on. We don't know. There was an agreement to the memory wipe, and that's all we know. All we know is what she told us. And because there's a memory wipe there, we're kind of left in the dark, twiddling our thumbs saying,
After that, I just felt him. I didn't see his face. I didn't see his figure, his shadow, or anything like that. But I felt him get on a knee and give me a hug. And it was like the biggest, I felt real arms around me. And I was wondering, can I just go with you now? Like, I don't really want to go back where I was. I felt so much love. And I said, well, let me get perfect. I don't deserve to be in your presence right now. Let me go back and live, get perfect.
I don't deserve to be in your presence right now. I mean, talk about just, taking your sovereignty and just throwing it to the wind and not thinking twice about it. It's immediate submission.
Can I just go with you now? Like, I don't really want to go back where I was. I felt so much love. And I said, well, let me get perfect. I don't deserve to be in your presence right now. Let me go back and live, get perfect, and come back. He's saying, no, I love you how you are now.
Do you know there are NDEs where God makes them get on their knees and basically submit? They are out there. There are NDEs out there where the experiencer is basically told to get on their knees, and some just voluntarily do it anyways because they think they're at the throne of God. And they just do it. And this poor guy is saying, "Oh, I don't deserve you. I don't deserve to even be near you. Oh my God. Come on.
Can I just go with you now? Like, I don't really want to go back where I was. I felt so much love. And I said, well, let me get perfect. I don't deserve to be in your presence right now.
Let me get perfect. I don't deserve to be in your presence right now.
Let me go back and live, get perfect, and come back. He's saying, no, I love you how you are.
But in some cases, they don't love you how you are. How is this determination made?
Now, in your love. And I said, well, let me get perfect. I don't deserve to be in your presence right now. Let me go back and live, get perfect, and come back. He's saying, no, I love you how you are now.
Okay.
I was thinking the whole entire time, what am I supposed to tell people? They're not going to believe me. They're going to doubt me. They're going to think I'm crazy, like a real life crazy person. But then that's when he says, go and tell everyone that I love them.
I'm sorry.
Next thing you know, I'm up in the air. I see this big cloud that was in a circle shape. If I were to cross that, I would probably have went to like heaven or something like that, or paradise, whatever you may call it.
He doesn't even know. I may go to heaven or paradise or whatever you're going to call it. I mean, I'm not crapping on him. I'm not. I mean, sometimes I feel like when I do these commentaries, I'm like, just being like mean. I'm not. I'm just coming across like, okay, you're falling for this stuff and I feel bad for you. Like, it's not like I don't have anything against any of these people. It's sad. It's sad to see just blind submission and saying, I'm not worthy. You're very worthy. You're very worthy. That's my point. You're very worthy to do what you want to do and not listen to some outside force telling you what to do.
I see this big cloud that was in a circle shape. If I were to cross that, I would probably have went to like heaven or something like that, or paradise, whatever you may call it. I literally see angels covered around me, like everywhere. But there was two, they felt so familiar, and I paid more attention to these two. So one was on my right side, one was on my left side.
Teaming up.
The one on my left side, I didn't really see his face much because there was a bunch of light and it was so bright I couldn't stand it. It was a lot of light. And the first thing I thought when I looked over at that one was, if I went back right now, most of the city would be destroyed because there's so much light. So it's like they're not allowed, those angels particularly, they're not allowed to step on this earth.
You're not allowed to step on this earth, but they're allowed to intermingle and mess with you. If you have a near-death experience, or probably astral projection, or lucid dream, or a breakthrough trip.
The one on my left says in a stern voice, like, are you sure you want to go? Like he was sort of like upset. He wasn't mad at me. He was just mad at that he had to see me go through this. And then the one on my right side was very soft spoken. And he says, you have so much to do for so many people. So then I look at the left side and he said, look down. And like a camera.
Look down. Have we heard this before in today's stream? We've already heard that, right? I mean, look down. Time to go home.
Camera, it zooms in. Look, I have so much to do for so many people. So then I look at the left side and he said, look down. And like a camera, it zooms in to the floor and I see my body there laying on the floor. The paramedics are over me and the friend I was with is over to the left-hand side on her phone. And I'm saying, how can I look all the way down there at my body? I see my literal body laying there. How can I really see myself and the paramedics, but I'm right here with you guys? How does that happen? And they say, because this really does happen. So they said, now, do you want to stay or go? So after hearing the one on my right say, I have so much to do for so many people, I knew I wasn't going to understand it yet, but I just said, you know what? I'm going to go back. So in the snap of a finger, I guess I was back in my body because...
It's kind of like, you know, what is it? In the cartoons, you think about the cartoons, like Looney Tunes, where they have the devil in one ear and they have the God of righteousness in the other ear.
So after hearing the one on my right say, I have so much to do for so many people, I knew I wasn't going to understand it yet, but I just said, you know what? I'm going to go back. So in the snap of a finger, I guess I was back in my body because I woke up about 3 days later in the ICU. And the first thing I seen when I woke up was the nurses like, oh my God, he's up. Oh my God, he woke up. He's such a miracle. And they start calling me Miracle after that.
The same circular shaped diameter as a tunnel, I could see it opening out in front of me, like standing in almost like in a cave entrance. I could see, looking out from this entrance, green fields, meadows, fields opening up before my very eyes. As I looked at it, it looked like a new planet. I could see a crystal clear stream working its way through. It was like Earth, but untouched, you know what I mean? A totally new Earth. Every single part of me's gone, I've made it. Somehow, on the skin of my teeth, I have made it. I mean, I knew that somehow I belonged here. It was like I knew I was home. I was wondering, why on earth wasn't I born here in the first place? Why was I born on this miserable planet? Why? Because you must be born again.
Who's the Crypt Keeper interviewer? Look at him.
This miserable planet. Why? Because you must be born again of the Spirit of God. You must have a rebirth and you're in a man to enter into here. But I'm standing here not realizing that's what had happened in the ambulance, that prayer, I'd actually had a rebirth in that prayer, that deathbed prayer. I had no idea that God had heard that and actually moved upon my spirit and washed my inner man as white as snow, crystal clear. As I'm standing there looking in, all I want to do is explore. I mean, I thought my feet won't touch the ground. I could see the pasture had the same life force that was upon the presence of God emanating right through it. I knew if I stepped on it, it would spring back. The light is like everything was giving off life. As I started to move in, his presence came right back in front of me and blocked the way. He asked me this question. He said, Ian, now that you've seen, do you wish to go in or do you wish to return? I thought, return? What for? I wish to go in. He didn't move. I said, I have no one to return for. I'm a single man. I am not married. I have no children, or none that I know of. Please allow me in. He didn't move. Because I thought if God, knew my life, he'd know that maybe I've fathered some child illegitimately. I thought maybe I've wrecked some young girl's life. You know what I mean? And God knows that he wants me to go back and father that child. And when you're standing before God, you're not some big smart aleck or mouthing off. You just know he can see you and you just want to be right.
You just want to be right. You're standing before God, you want to be right. The automatic assumptions of what should be when you meet God. But God doesn't judge, right? According to a lot of the NDEs, God doesn't judge. There's no judgment. Everything's cool. Everything's on the up and up.
I thought maybe I've done something wrong. I've got to go back. As I stood there, he didn't move. I said, God, I don't owe any money. Please allow me in. No mortgage, no debt. Still nothing. I said, in my life, no one's ever loved me. No one in my life has ever truly loved me. Your love has touched my heart. I've never felt such pure love. Can I stay here? I have no desire to go back. Everyone wants to manipulate you, control you, hidden agendas, strings attached. But your love and acceptance is the most pure thing I've ever found in my life. No one's ever cared for me like that. No one's ever loved me like that. I have no one to return for. He didn't move. So I thought, then permit me to say one last thing, goodbye cruel world, and I was going to take my chances and try and step through the light and hope that God wouldn't stop me. As I looked back to do that, directly behind me, God showed me a vision of one person who loved me, one person who not only cared for me,
Oh, look at the deception. So he's standing in front of the light. And God is stopping him, putting up the roadblock, saying, "Hey, get back, get back, get back." And okay, what I'm gonna do right here is I'm gonna show your family members down on Earth who are all upset about you, dying and being off. Like here, you shouldn't be here. So you should feel really sad about this group of people over here and end up back on Earth. This is what's going on right here, okay?
And I was going to take my chances and try and step through the light and hope that God wouldn't stop me.
I'm going to take my chances and hope that God doesn't stop me. But he came back.
As I looked back to do that, directly behind me, God showed me a vision of one person who loved me, one person who not only cared for me and accepted me, but had prayed for me all the days of my life. As I looked at her, I saw my mother in a clear vision right behind me. The moment I saw her, I thought, man, if I am dead, what's going to happen if I do step through? If I do step through, could I tell my mum that I made it? Could I communicate with her from this place? I thought, I don't know. I don't want to risk it. I thought, if I am dead and I step through, will my mother have any idea that in that ambulance I prayed? Will she have any idea that I gave my life to God and that God could forgive me? And I thought, no, she'll think a heathenistic son went straight to hell. She'd have no reason to believe I'd pray. Why? My lifestyle is completely antichrist stuff. As I stood there, I thought, God, I wish to return for my mum. I've led such a selfish life. I want to return and tell her what she believes in is real.
Boy, talk about the guilt trip pushing up on him. I've lived such a selfish life. I was so awful, so horrible. I've got to go back. I mean, just come on, man. Come on.
Antichrist stuff. As I stood there, I thought, God, I wish to return for my mum. I've led such a selfish life. I want to return and tell her what she believes in is real. If I come back, I'll find, if I go back, I'll find out where this place is, and I'm coming back whether anyone believes me or not. Whether anyone believes me, I don't really care. I know if I died right now, I'm out of here. I'm going to go straight up into his presence, because I know that I've made peace with my Maker. I know that he has forgiven me, accepted me, and I know that he'll take me back into his presence.
All right. That is going to wrap up today's NDEs. I'm happy I didn't see the Crypt Keeper towards the end there. I think I would have very well lost it. Anyways, just want to say really quickly, thank you for joining me tonight. Always much appreciated. Very humbling to have you all spend some time listening to these. And just so you know, I do have a Matrix Reincarnation Soul Trap playlist that is updated regularly as new videos are added. So I know there's been a massive uptick in subscribers here on the channel, and it's very just wow. So thank you to each and every one of you. I also want to say thank you to Dan from Overwatch channel for mentioning my channel and giving it a shout out. And I've talked about Dan's channel on here many times. It is a must listen to channel, so please check that out. And also wanted to add, just kind of get this out of the way. I also have YouTube memberships here on the channel where I do monthly live streams, monthly members live streams, and you can use the pinned comment or you can check the description tab. I also just opened up a DLIVE account where I will do platform exclusive live streams sometime in the near future. And I have Odyssey, where I have already done exclusive live streams there that, these two platforms I talk about because there's just certain things you can't talk about here, obviously. I have the YouTube channel here, and then I have 2 YouTube backup channels, which I started a couple years ago just as a precaution. So feel free to hit those. And I do still get messages from people saying that they are not getting notifications on YouTube. The only solution I have is to make sure that the bell is hit for all notifications. It's fully lit up. Other than that, I don't know what to say. I have a Twitter, an Instagram, a Twitch. I did throw up a interesting video on Twitch not that long ago. It may still be up there. I've been playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and it's based in ancient Greece, and it has an Atlantis expansion pack, and there are some truth bombs being rained down in that game. It's a big game. It's long, and I'm not really much of a gamer these days at all, but the Atlantis thing was very appealing, and I figured, what the hell, get it. And so I played it. And I also have a website coming very soon, probably within the next month or 2. It'll be a resource center and social. It's kind of like a social hub. I mean, it's taken me a while to really get this going, but I have the URL secured and hosting site secured. So just a matter of me getting it kind of fine-tuned and set up properly. So yeah, if you'd like to get an update on that, just email me, foreverconsciousresearch@gmail.com. That's foreverconsciousresearch@gmail.com. And I just, again, want to thank Dan from Overwatch channel very much for his mentioning of my work. Can't thank you enough. And Dan will be coming on here for an interview in the near future. Dan, I did get your email and your comments, so I will be reaching out soon, and we'll try and set up a date for at least one talk, maybe multiple. And Wayne Bush is also coming back. I want to make sure I put that out there. We are going to be diving into the real meat and potatoes of NDEs, and that is going to be on January 8th at 4 p.m. and I think that's a Sunday. I'm sorry, January 8th is a Saturday. So January 8th at 4 p.m. Wayne Bush will be coming back, and then we have a few more shows with Wayne after that in the following weeks, which should be very, very interesting and fun. And let's see, was there anything else I wanted to say? Oh yeah, I want to very quickly send my appreciation to the new members who joined and existing members of the Last Timers Club. Bear Christ just joined a couple days ago. Glitch in the Matrix 3 days ago. Sugar Seas, JJ Mormon, Donna Gay, Mike D, Shannon Jones, The Vegan Skeptic, Miss Ellie, Dave Larson, Lone Traveler, Lindley T, PKOSB, and AA. Thank you so much for your support of the channel, and we should have our next members live stream. I believe I'm shooting for the 2nd or 3rd weekend of January. So just keep an eye out for notifications in the members tab. And I think that's about it, my friends. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed tonight. Much appreciated. And I'll see y'all again real soon. Thank you.